Greetings and salutations, travelers. Welcome back. We are at not the Inn of Planar Crossroads, but Black Dragon Gaming's channel with this Around the Hearth discussion. And let's do announcements like we usually do. First off, disclaimer. This is an adult podcast that features some adults that use adult language. You have been warned.
Thanks, Dad.
The Pathfather has spoken. Patreon for both channels is up and running if you want to go check them out. Links in the description for at least Tommy's, possibly ours. What we're talking about today is the encounters. This is the second part of our Around the Hearth that we've been doing. On Tommy's channel, we talk about encounter building with the things from CR 15 and 16. So, that's what we're doing today. As far as subscriber appreciation, we're going to have one at 200. We're about halfway there, I think. Or pretty close. I think we need like 60 more people. Or 50-something. We're at 140-something subscribers at the moment. Once we hit 200, Colin will be running a game for us. Or a game for the subscribers that win. Speaking of subscriber games, I will announce that Kane has sent me the necessary edited audio for the game that he ran, which means I'm going to be finishing up the visual portion, which will... It's going to be mainly a podcast, so it'll be
the first part.
Yeah, it's just the first part, and we'll release it. We'll release part 1 as soon as I get that visual stuff done. The sound quality sounds very nice. Kane is quite particular when he's doing his audio editing. If we ever make this a really, if we ever make this a actual thing, this channel that we do for a living or pretty close to it, even if we do it part-time, we may start having Kane be like, "Hey, man, you edit all the audio," but I don't know.
And that audio was bad too when I got a hold of it.
And it sounds pretty now. So anyway, that's going to be that. As far as the monthly giveaway for the Inn of Planar Crossroads, you can pop on over to our Patreon, get on the Giant tier, which is $10 a month, and that gets you in for a Vivek statue at this time, a Vivek vinyl pop from, what is that company? Probably just Pop. And it is from the one that they did for Morrowind. So we've got one of those this month. Last month was a Splat book, so it just kind of depends on what month we do something. So there you go. And that is, like we said, on the Giant tier for the Inn of Planar Crossroads. Aside from the one-shot, there's no new series coming out. Addie's game is still running, and I'm still getting the occasional Ghoulish Games entry from Kane. So there you go. Final thing, we'll be at the St. Louis Comic-Con, being held in St. Charles, right there by St. Louis. Come see us if you want to. We're not going to be having a booth, but we'll be wandering around, probably acting awkward and taking pictures. So there you go. And I think that's it. Tommy, you got anything you want to bring up to people before we start in on this?
Tommy has a lot of things he wants to bring up. First and foremost, guys, if you haven't already, go drift over to the Inn of Planar Crossroads. Hit that subscribe button, watch their stuff, watch me at least be like a terrible, socially awkward orc for like 12-ish episodes, maybe a little less, over at Rise of the Rune Lords. It's a lot of fun, and these guys, like, if nothing else, these guys have been a great boon to this channel. Adam has definitely taken a lot of time out of his life to like teach me how to OBS and even like do stuff like this and roll dice and stuff. So yeah, just go over, click that quick like button, click that quick subscribe button. Sorry, the new rogue information just came out, and I guess I'm a little excited. Means the world. We are at, I think we ticked over 600 subscribers this afternoon. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you did.
We were trying to get to 424 to start the Doomsday Dawn giveaway, and we've passed that. 424 is a distant memory at this point, but to get the thing to run, I still have to like get money to get time off work, so I have free time to do it. The goal is around $150 a month on Patreon. Right now we're at $39 a month. Patronage for Black Dragon Gaming will get you a second entry into the giveaway, and I'll put a link to the giveaway in the description. really it just kind of comes down to a matter at this point of like every dollar helps. If everybody who watches this isn't like necessarily the most popular series on Black Dragon Gaming, but if everybody watched this threw in a buck, we'd be that much closer.
Yes, I will say, if you have money to give to a Patreon, but if it comes down between In a Planar Crossroads and Black Dragon Gaming, go ahead and go with them first. So there you go.
Thanks, Dad. Anywho, that giveaway ends the 2nd of July, so we have plenty of time. If nothing else, just like spread the plague, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, show your nerd groups what we're doing, and eventually we'll get there, and when we get there, we will run you and 5 of your friends, well, if they're your friends, 5 of the other subscribers through the first ever published Pathfinder 2nd edition material, which I'm still really super stoked for. But that doesn't mean we're going to ignore Pathfinder 1st edition, which is still super fun in its own right. Today we are talking about encounters at CR 15 and 16, stuff we've built, stuff that some of us might be improvising as we go. I'm pointing the finger at me, not at you, Kane, for the record. But like Adam said, you're getting about 50% of the discussion over here. If you want to hear like why we're using these monsters, again, just drift on over to In a Planar Crossroads. I think we're actually almost done with this series. I think after this, it's 17, 18, 19, and then 20 plus. Is that right, Adam?
Yeah, that's the plan, so that we don't have... There's just not a lot down towards this tier. So, at least that we can highlight very easily on the D20 PFSRD.
So most of the monsters from CR17 onward, it's the same monsters over and over again. More tougher dragons, demons, outsiders, and that like for the most part, to the best of my knowledge.
Now that said, I have a lot of like CR25 monsters that I really like from like Adventure Paths and the back end of bestiaries and stuff. But the point is, in a month we'll be done with this, and then we'll be back and forth just talking about like random tabletop stuff. I have some special guests in mind who I might be bringing on if the stars can align and all of our work schedules can fall together. I'm super stoked for that, but for now, we're going to dive into our encounters. For my CR15 monster, and you can see why, again, over at the Inn of Planar Crossroads, I chose Sarenrae's Herald, the Sun Lord. I'm going to say Thalicos. I think I'm wrong, but I'm not sure. The reason I chose him, again, is because the dude has 4 arms, and with 4 arms, I can have double scimitar and a bow, or double greatsword. It's the same reason that a Kasatha is really powerful. I'm not sure if it's reflected. Actually, let me just check. He has greater 2-weapon fighting, and 1, 2... Okay, yeah, he has 6 attacks and greater 2-weapon fighting. So one thing I will note before I dive in on him is... 2-weapon fighting isn't working on him the same way it works on a Kasatha. A Kasatha takes 2-weapon fighting and then has 4 attacks. This, I think Inner Sea Gods predates the Kasatha in the Advanced Race Guide by a couple of years. I'm not... it was all like already out by the time I figured out what Pathfinder was. But the point is, if you play by Kasatha rules, this guy would have a lot more attacks. And that's the idea, is... Our encounter with Thalicos is all about having all of the action economy you could ever want and the versatility to do what you want with it. So what you do is you start the encounter, and to set up the encounter, he is Sarenrae's Herald. He is neutral good. This shoe doesn't fit every foot, but by that same notion, there are a lot of fanatics that worship Sarenrae, and like it's your setting. If you're GMing, you can twist whatever you need to twist to make it work. We just have this guy drop down in the middle of the party when they're not ready for him, and just start whacking people with his scimitars, which you might not necessarily, like if the party isn't optimized, you don't really need to tweak him. If the party's on like a 15-point buy and there's like 4 or 5 of them, you don't need to mess with it too much. But if they know what they're doing, we want to make sure his scimitars are keened. We want to make sure they're critting from 15 to 20 instead of 18 to 20. And we're just trying to milk stun. We're just trying to make sure Thalicos strikes a creature twice in the same round with his scimitars. The DC 24 Fortitude save, like, for reasons other than the fact that Sarenrae's Herald probably isn't fighting the Paladins, don't go for the Paladins with this guy necessarily, because they're probably going to ace that fort save. but a lot of people won't, and a lot of people can just be shut out of the encounter because they're stunned. As far as like mooks with this guy, again, that's all for flavor. Certain mooks are always like stronger than other mooks, no matter how the game scales. Shadows are ironic for the goddess of the sun, but I mean, you can twist that into your own story and make that work. And when that works, then people are, what is that? That didn't work. And then they start asking questions and they figure out your world so much the better. The point is, again, Thalicos just smacks people around, keeps the action economy down, which is another reason we like him, is because he has so many attacks. He, even by himself, in a party that, again, is less optimized or has less members, he can hold his own because he's not just like 1, 2, 3 pass. Then the party has like 15 actions against him, and he inevitably just dies because that's how action economy works. I have a lot more attacks on this guy. Also, there's nothing saying... it doesn't work the way I used to think it worked, and I'm sad, and I feel like an idiot for not understanding how immediate action works in terms of the swashbuckler. But one thing I like with this guy is you can have him go scimitar. It's awkward that one of his hands has to be empty to make this work. I don't know like how that works when you have 4 hands. Is it 1 hand or is it 3 hands? And we're gonna say he needs to have all 3 hands empty, and you give him like quick draw or a dancing weapon, and have him just like grab the dancing weapon, shoot his bow, let it go as a free action. It hovers, but the ranged attack provoked, and then he parries, and then he riposts, and then the dancing arrow hits somebody. There's a lot of really fun stuff you can do with this guy, and he's got Blade Barrier, and he's got... Holy Word isn't like... If the party has a bunch of summoned like 3 hit dice things, okay, yeah, Holy Word will nuke them. But what else we got? We've got Once a Day Heal, we've got Sunburst, Flame Strike is fun. Blade Barrier it's not like Wall of Thorns or anything, and the DC is kind of low, but it is something they have to walk through, which makes this guy all the stronger. Also, he's got a fly speed and can plane shift, so Thalicos can serve as a really powerful, like, recurring bad guy. Well, I guess recurring good guy for bad party to fight, I will say. He gets to, like, he lowers all his health, he gets beat up, he heals himself, it drops again, then he plane shifts away to only come back like 3 levels later with extra levels on him, some hit dice on him, or like show up in the middle of the night and just start stabbing fools. You can't really go wrong with him. I really enjoy him because, again, like there's a lot of customization you can do. And speaking of customization, my CR16 monster of choice that like it holds so special a place in my heart that we straight up, Sarah and I, we went way out of our way on eBay because the mini is kind of expensive in the box alongside alongside a Star Spawn of Cthulhu. We found just the Clockwork Dragon mini to make sure we had it here. The Clockwork Dragon is really cool because the Clockwork Dragon has a bunch of variants on it. Some of them don't even change its CR. Clockwork Soldiers, and I recorded this will go out Saturday morning. So by now you guys have seen the Numeria video that came out on the Inner-Sea region, a 5-minute tour. Robots play a really big role in Pathfinder, and the Clockworks are no exception to that. There's kind of something scary about constructs in and of the fact that like they don't care at all about anything. They have no feelings, no emotion. They're to march into your city and stab people with their spears, and the Clockwork Dragon is the apex of them. We like him because, in addition to the fact like he and all the Clockworks, I will say, have winding rules. A Clockwork Dragon can function for 3 days per hit dice each time it's wound. We're not gonna, it's like, this is a monster, you are the GM. It is wound, you don't need to finagle with that too much. But again, he can do whatever you want. If you want him to have the Infiltrator template that gives the compression ability, which means he can enter, somebody's gonna have to correct me on this one, but I think he can move through spaces that are like 2 size categories too small for him. Is that right, guys? Is that how compression works?
2 size categories, yes.
2 size. So that means at huge, he can go, like, he can move through the hallway the party is moving through with no problem. and he blows up if he dies anyway. So if he can't fit and he has to force himself through a hole and divide by 0, and boom, so much the better.
That power, certain high CR monsters have that, like Balors have that, I think.
Balors have compression?
No, the explosion.
Oh, yeah, that's why I like Balors, and that's the same reason that Clockwork Dragon is because he is really good. He and anything that blows up are really good at foiling at challenging parties, I will say, that have like 1 or 2 members of the party that are really, really optimized, and then a couple of people that aren't. Because when something dies and explodes, like you might pass, you the optimized player might and probably will pass your reflex save with flying colors, but the guys behind you might not. To go on even farther, if everyone is super powerful, like the NPCs might not, the women and children that are tied up in the room screaming, "Help me!" at the top of their lungs or whatever it is you've built in, like they probably don't pass that reflex save. In addition, they probably don't survive the 10d6 points of slashing damage and the 10d6 points of fire damage. So it makes you think before you power attack, and that's not a bad thing, especially at this level where we've pretty much, like, by CR15, CR16, pretty much every class has reached its apex. At this point, we're kind of all just like, we're contemplating the 1 or 2 level dips if your game has made it this far, or like the Barbarian is tapping his foot impatiently waiting on its capstone, which is good. Same with like fighters have a good capstone. Some people just don't. They're like, swashbuckler level, sure. In addition, like, if you think of a Clockwork Army as just like a really efficient modern day army, that makes a really good analogy for this too. Just spam. I'm a big fan of the troop template. Just troop templates where the Clockwork Mages and Clockwork Soldiers. It's been done in parties that I've played in that all the Clockwork Mages will have wands of fireball and they become the artillery. But that's not to say, like, the Clockwork Dragon has a breath weapon as well, because it's a dragon, right? What is my normal breath weapon? 100-foot line, 14d6 fire damage. We can change that to acid. We can change that to flaming tar breath, which is fun because it's entangled. It's a tanglefoot bag. It's everything the druid has ever wanted to do, but with 14d6 damage, and then they take 3d6 more points of fire damage, on and on and on. Rust breath is fun. Rust breath is mean, but sometimes, like, you gotta be mean to challenge your party. Sometimes, especially if they've figured out how to make really good crafting stuff, you just spam this, and now suddenly the rust monster has gone up by like 15 CR. Sleep gas breath is also really good, especially like combine it with infiltrator, which like that does bump the CR up by 1, but CR is kind of arbitrary anyway. This thing comes in and you get a 30-foot cone of a DC 22 will save, or you're knocked out for a D6 plus, so a minimum of 10 rounds, a maximum of 16 rounds. Either way, it's long enough for the Clockwork Soldier to walk in and just like spear you through the chest. You're dead. I really like. I've never fought one of these, but I had one in a party once, and it was really, really, really good. And part of that was like, so we need to take 2 weeks, guys. I'm gonna put a bomb on the back of this thing, and then that next week it would have flaming tar breath. I never saw infiltrate, but like, it's there. It's really good, and also because these guys are so mutable, they're so like, whatever it is you want your Clockwork Dragon to do within the realm of your imagination and balance, I guess, you can do it. And that's what makes it, A, all the more fun for you because you get to build something, B, all the more challenging for your players because they won't know about it. And I thought I had a C, but I don't really have a C. So yeah, super fun, super challenging. That is why my CR16 encounter is the Clockwork Dragon and all the mooks in whatever situation it is you need for. Now I've rambled enough. Let me grab you under Discord. Oh, who's going next? We'll just go from top down. Donald, let's hear it.
Okay, so my CR15, I will be going with the Herald of Hell. If you're having just a normal point buy, 4 party members who go by 15 point buy, it's a challenge just by the creature by itself with some minions. But against the optimized party, you need to use the environment and choose tougher minions if you want to have a challenge. The Herald of Hell have a lot of the typical immunities that the devils would have. Its AC is relatively okay, 28. Hit point 200 based upon how optimized the party is. You may need to increase the hit point and AC a bit, as 28 is okay at this CR. The creature, it have some nice attacks. A single touch attack plus 19, so that will hit most of the creature's AC. 1d8 plus 8 or 5 slam attacks that he have a pretty good CMB just to grab things, plus 28. So most of the casters, he's going to grab easily enough with those 5 slam attacks doing 1d8 plus 8 damage. For a slam attack, it does have a reach of 15 feet, which is pretty nice. Give him a combat reflex with a lot of the party members around him, and he's going to have a fun day. He have a fly speed 60 feet, which you can make use of, which is quite essential if you're going to be using some of his will powers and per day spell use. He have a cloud kill, which is quite nice if you want to use a AoE spell on the party. Greater teleport, so he can teleport across the field to another area if need be. And my favorite low-level wizard spell, it is called Scorching Ray. And against most of the creatures in the party touch AC, it's going to hurt them pretty good. So 3 ways. This is at will, so he can do it all the time and just simply spamming it, doing about 12d6 fire damage. The per day spells it have Crushing Despair. That's a nice debuff spell if you manage to fail a DC 21. Dimensional Anchor for anyone who wants to teleport. Greater Dispel Magic, because, well, that's useful to have against a party that would be using a lot of magic by this point to reduce those buffs and etc. Invisibility Greater, generally great for him to use to be invisible and teleport to kill the pesky wizards or casters. Phantasmal Killer, if they fail their save, they're going to be in trouble. It does have a geese crest once per day, so this is something you could use in combat, but such thing that the Wish geese crest is something you generally use as a NPC for the party, as a service of some kind. It have a summon monster ability to summon 5. It have ability to summon bone devils, but easily enough you could easily have him summon more devils to aid him, as he is a herald effectively. For stats, he is okay across the board, ranging from 19 wisdom to all these stats across the board being somewhere to 22 dex, to all these other stats being about 25, 26. Its feat area, it is okay. Blind Fight, Combat Reflex, Deceitful, Improved Initiative, Improved Iron Rail, Lightning Reflex. So this creature is not built for combat, but if you need to use it for combat, you just need to alter it a bit. Its skills, it's mostly knowledge, focus, and social skills for the most part. But this is where some of his special powers get to be pretty useful. Gaze. If anyone wants to bring their followers along from the leadership feat, Gaze, if they have 6 hit die or less, they need to make a will save, or they just simply die potentially from the damage alone. 66. And if they have more than 7 hit die, they need to make a will save still and be panicked. So the devil uses and can kill the follower minions off pretty good. And then terror is pretty nice if you can use it on the minions if the party members want to bring their leadership feat followers in. Terror Shape and Veil of Forms is okay, but it does have its uses. Generally, if you're going to be using the Herald properly, it is important to have proper backup with the devil minions that have the environment, and all these spells the Herald and the Devil minions get to have to make the Herald to be quite a powerful servant to go up against. This is a Herald of Hell. He should be a challenge, as he is pretty much Asmodeus' left hand effectively. And then my CR16 is a demon called the Shimhazian demon. I did use this creature once in a encounter. He was in a lair of the abyss with a bunch of demon servants, which he commanded his servants to keep all the party members busy while the Themyscira demon severely weakened most of the party members before the party members managed to roll quite well to kill the demon minions and him. When it got close to be a TPK, its saves are relatively good, as with the Herald for the most part. So as long as it will well, it can beat most low DC saves. It have a pretty good AC, 31, close to a dragon at this CR. Hit points 246, but if you max it up to maximum hit points, that's a lot of damage it can take potentially. It have the typical immunities a demon would have. Electricity, poison, resistance to fire, cold, acid, fire, and a pretty good spell resistance, 27. Generally, most creatures after CR 15 onward have a pretty good SR, which, if a party member rolls badly, they're gonna have a problem beating that SR unless if they optimize to beat it easily enough. The Themyscira demon have a pretty good base speed 40 feet and amazing fly speed of 60 feet, so you may take advantage of that if need be. This is more of a martial type of demon, using its bite attack that does have a pretty good strength drain attack, doing 2d6 plus 12 plus 2d4 damage against a Fortitude DC of 27. Someone is going to fail those saves, especially the casters. And that's going to be potentially knock them out potentially if their strengths get down to 0 for the minions to kill the casters off. Claws, the pincers, and tail slap, it does a decent amount of damage against a fighter or someone who the demon just chooses to have a bad day and choose to unleash its anger on someone who could be killed in one turn potentially. It is up to 20 feet. And 30 feet for its tail attack. It have the typical demon powers by this point: greater teleport, invisibility, telekinesis, which is quite nice if you want to use items against a party in a lair. It per day spells clairvoyance, which is useful in certain circumstances. Mass, inflict serious wounds, so if this demon have undead minions around him, he can easily heal them. Prying Eye, Blasphemy, and then the summon monster power. This creature, for its feats and stats, it is meant for more of a martial type of monster, so you can use them in that role quite well. It have a nice power called Paralyzing Gaze. If you use it on a creature within 30 feet, they effectively become paralyzed for a single round. So based upon who you paralyze and they fail their save, that can be quite the challenge for the party at times. The one thing that I noticed about the higher CR monsters is they can be killed easily enough if a party optimized to kill them very, very quickly. So combat at this CR generally lasts for about 3 to 4 rounds from my experience at the GM. So yeah, combat at the higher CRs. It can either be a cakewalk, a TPK, or a easy victory for the party based upon what the dice rolls are. And yeah, I should let someone else talk.
Fair enough. Actually, I think we went up against the Shimhazian a long time ago, back when like the group I'm in now had just started and it was still at a game shop. It's the demon that has like the praying mantis arm, the tiger face, right?
Yeah, yes. I think it's Kane's turn next.
No, I'll call it. I'll call it. I'm just saying that, like, that guy, I don't think I was level 16 when we fought him. I think we were like 10, 11, 12, but we had templates on us, and it was still like, never got paralyzed, did get smacked around a whole lot. It was, I don't know if like the GM was playing, no, I do know the GM probably wasn't playing like really to the hilt, because that's not in that GM's wheelhouse really. But like that doesn't mean that thing isn't strong. Just like, I'm going to attack you, it will wreck some face.
Yeah, just by itself against a single target, it's pretty powerful. But if you don't play to its full advantages for powers, this thing is not that great against the optimized paladin or fighter. That can beat it.
Nothing is good against an optimal. Things are good against optimized paladins. Just make sure they're not evil. Anyway, yeah, Donald did call it correctly. Kane, you have the floor, dude.
All right, apparently we're at the halfway mark, so I'll make this quick. As far as the cannon golem goes, it's a golem. It does golem things. The special thing about the cannon golem is it has an effective way to deal with the party at range. So if you're going to stick it somewhere, put it in an alcove in a wall. It doesn't need to eat or sleep or drink or pee. Just stick it somewhere where it can fire down into the party, and there you go. It's got a lot of DR, especially if the party has to deal with it at range. They're going to have to fire at it with spells that don't allow SR, or just wail adamantine arrows into it. Ow! I just boned myself on my desk.
Ugh. Bad.
On to my CR16, which is the Plasma Ooze. Really all I can say about the Plasma Ooze is its magnetic pulse ability. Oozes don't have an intelligence score, just like the golem I picked. They don't have an intelligence score, and their whole driving force is to consume organic matter, in particular living organic matter. At least it's living when they get a hold of it. So it's not far-fetched to believe that it might follow prey into an area that would be affected by its magnetic pulse. A worst-case scenario being that either it follows something, or someone who's much, much smarter than the ooze, which is not a feat, lures it into like a scrapyard and uses it to, or even just like fills an area with sharp bits of scrap metal and uses the ooze to guard something. So the ooze itself acts as a terrain effect because it's dumb, and it'll attack any living thing that comes close enough for it to sense that it's there. And its 30-foot aura of magnetic pulse will also basically have shards of metal flying all over the place the entire time your party has to deal with it. So on top of its fairly impressive slam damage, I think, what is it? If it hits you with the slam, it's 12d6 plus 19, split up between fire, electricity, and untyped damage, plus its grab, which will do ongoing damage if you don't get out of the grab, plus its constrict, which will do ongoing damage if you don't get out of the constrict, plus its engulf, which will do ongoing damage. It's a lot of ongoing damage if you touch it because it's a big ball. It's a little tiny sun that hates you because it can't process other emotions. And alternatively, if you have a way to get around it, it can also just plasma ray you. So sticking this thing in an area where its magnetic pulse can be used to cause havoc in the area around it is probably the most efficacious way to employ this monster against a party, even an optimized one. I had something else. Oh yeah, it doesn't. You can't mess with its feats because it's mindless. It doesn't have feats, unfortunately. So that's how I would use it, anyways.
How does the aura of the metal shard thing? How does that interact with these weapons and stuff?
If you don't let go of the weapon, because I think it makes a CMD to disarm you, but if you don't let go of the weapon, it pulls you closer. So if you're made of metal, if you're wearing metal, or if you're wielding a metal weapon.
So everyone in the party who's not a probably has a really hard time with this essentially terrain effect, because that's what you are.
Yeah, a monk or maybe a druid.
Yeah, druids get there too. Yeah, that is super sweet. I've definitely I've used terrain effects, and oftentimes the answer to that terrain effect is, well, I'm gonna go left. Goodbye, ochre oozes. Haha. Not so much with this guy. Yeah, I'm gonna steal that at some point. I don't know where. Probably not. It doesn't make sense for Lord of the Caliber. Well, it might. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, time is short. Joe, take it away.
Okay, so first creature I'm going to be talking about is the Neothelid. His encounter. The Neothelids, like I described last time, they're worm-like creatures. They're aberrations. They're servants of spawn even more ageless horrors from strange dimensions beyond the edge of known reality. The Neothelids see themselves as the chosen agents of these malevolent forces working to ready the world for their return. So these guys, according to their organization, they tend to have a cult following them, or sometimes they can. There's just 3 to 5 of them, plus 4 to 12. That's way too high, so we're going to have one of them. Plus a fuck ton of just really weak slaves following them that they've charmed. Because they're super, like I described last time, they have some suggestion stuff. They can charm people. Also, they're just scary as shit, and they live in the Underdark. So, like, these worm things, they're just gonna swarm you with little dudes. They're gonna swarm, not you, but they're gonna swarm the party with little dudes. And as the little dudes bog down the party, they're either going to pick out the people to, like, one-on-one, who are either getting past the little dudes quite easily, or who have just completely surpassed them, like the Flyer in the party, if you have one. He's going to try and take them down with his Mind Thrust and his Psychic Crush. And then, of course, he's going to be intelligent enough to be, like, devious. And if he's really winning and you guys are like, oh shit, teleport, this guy definitely will, like, trace teleport. And, like, his teleport is not restricted to self only, and his caster level is 20, so he can teleport some of his mooks with him and continue the previous tactic, which is pretty nice. Or if he has if there's like other Neothelids, and like the lead Neothelid can take the other Neothelids with them and deliver an ass kicking at home. Fully, just they're pretty like intimidating one-on-one, but when you can like bog down the party and then like have them truly one-on-one a member of the party, I think they can, like, that's where they come into their own. Because I've certainly had creatures that are like this intimidating just get like absolutely like freaking wrecked by a party just because there was one versus many. So you definitely want this guy to have like some backup, like I said, in the form of just weak but many. Like just swarm him with drow, essentially, because this guy lives in the Underdark, I think. Any underground really is what his environment is. So I'd say like in the vaults, just swarm weak dudes. Next, now this guy, the Warsworn, will also have mooks, but these mooks are just kind of like passive. So a long time ago, I had a campaign which had Warsworn in it. It was the end of the world. There was a city of millions that had like fallen to like a bunch of end of the world Revelations type shit. There were just piles and piles of dying bodies, and these guys, they have an called Absorb Dying Creature. It's really inventive what they call some of these abilities. I think Absorb Dying Creature is probably the edgiest and most inventive name I've ever heard. It can, and so they consume dying creatures and they absorb its constitution score. So, like, when the city streets are filled with like 100 dying people who all have like a con score of like 3 or something because they've got leprosy, and these guys, these big worm-like creatures, actually at the time I had them actually just as like giant, like weird giants. Most they were more human-like than they were like, but they're described as worm-like. When they could just move through and like gather bodies as they do so, like even just one of them becomes a very difficult fight. So if you can find a way to like throw bodies on the ground that are dying, like a battlefield, like you've won a battle, and now the enemy, as their final, like, screw you, they're going to animate a bunch of the stuff into a war swarm. and now you have to deal with a Warsworn swallowing up your own and the enemy's dead, or not dead, but dying, the wounded. As you now have to deal with this freaking CR16 creature, as it's like swarming through everything here. Again, it has some of these, like, you want to throw weapons and stuff on the ground because they'll pick up medium weapons and use them like spiritual weapon, essentially. It has telekinesis, so if there's like a paladin in the group, you can throw him off his mount or throw him around. And this is telekinesis, so like, good luck with your saves, my dude. And he has some pretty good feats that you can utilize pretty easily. You can throw them in the bodies, move into the bodies, swallow up some of the wounded, and like continue on. Like, basically, you just have passive healing as long as you have bodies on the ground. And yeah, oh, and they also have energy drain, which is really nice. I talked about that last time, but when you can do negative levels to people, it's just kind of like it's a little bit of like icing on the cake. And that's all, really.
I do remember that Warsworn encounter very well. That was like, I think we'd actually, we come off an encounter where we had to symbol of suggestion the party, and we're all already fighting each other. That was rough. That's the biggest case I've ever made in my life for why the necklace of fireballs is my favorite item, and why everyone in Rune Lords needs to pony up so we can have a necklace of fireballs, because in case of Warsworn it, and that's essentially how we got through that fight. I digress. Low on time we are. Adam, take us out.
All right, so my CR15 is the Die Book. I believe that's how it's spelled, or Dibuk. This grinning specter has mad eyes and blood-red hands that twitch and jerk like a puppeteer's. And that's basically what it is. We talked about it last time. Its main ability is just taking over things. It's incorporeal, it has some channel resistance, it's got DR10 good, which may or may not affect things, and undead traits. SR26, which isn't bad. My thing with it is it has some okay feats that you can use, like alertness, blind fight. It has combat reflexes, so if it's surrounded and they try to move away or move around, that's not necessarily a good thing, because it does get basically as many attacks of opportunity as it good and well wants, because it has a dex of 32. And its armor class is 28, which is nothing to snuff at CR15. Not spectacular, but nothing to really sneer at either. And it also has Step Up and Lunge, which are nice, for its Pain Touch, which has a plus 19 2-touch and does 7d6 untyped damage, which is nice because it's not negative energy damage, it's just untyped as far as the mechanics of it goes. It has Malevolence, which is a once per round. It can merge itself into a creature on the material plane, or with a creature on the material plane, like Magic Jar, caster level 18th caster level, except that it does not require a receptacle. This type of creature usually comes from some great a soul who eluded judgment because of some great transgression or pitiful suicide. So it's like a ghost that lingers around. I would use this creature as far as an encounter goes, looking at what it does and things like that. It can also possess objects. So how I would use it is make the party think that it's something like a poltergeist, or make them think that there's a curse on the house or something like that. Make them think that it's one thing and then use it as another. Maybe they just think there's someone in the house, because it can possess people. Maybe it just gets this beggar off the street that came in one night to find shelter. And that would probably be the best way to do it. This thing is very intelligent. It is as smart as a neothelid. So that's pretty smart. That's an int of 15. He's going to be able to figure things out. It's going to be able to really understand things, and it can just take over that beggar that came in and then use it as a vessel to do whatever it needs to do. And then it can just leave the vessel whenever it's ready. So this thing could be running a shadow guild, it could be, it might be somebody who calls itself the Puppeteer, and it runs an entire guild of, we'll say, thieves, and the innermost circle all understands kind of what it does, but they don't know what it is. They understand kind of what it does, that it's a spirit that uses them, but they submit to its use, and as such they have high positions within the guild. That can be very, very potent when trying to deal with the true cause of the problems in a area. When you have a guild master that can't be touched by regular means, be great for an investigative cloak and dagger type of situation. So having it as a CR15 final boss, especially if he's one of those that is manipulating politicians for their own designs. They like to animate unliving objects to spread fear, and imagine the ability and the things that this thing would know as a leader, just sneaking in, using the receptacle person to get in as a politician or a high-ranking leader. Then it leaves that vessel. The person doesn't know what happened, because charm effects don't work that way, and this isn't even a charm effect, it's a possession. They don't necessarily know what's going on in the mind of this creature. They only know maybe that they were possessed, maybe not, because it doesn't say that it can't lay dormant in someone either. I would possibly give it that. And then it sneaks around, finds what it needs, and leaves. Or hides itself in an object that the person brings in. And then once it's inside the residence, it leaves the object, finds what it wants, and takes revenge on those around it. So, I like this. I like how it sneaks in, and it could be an assassin in and of itself for its own gain for the guild, even as its leader. So I really like this type of creature that can do that. It's got dominate monster, inflict wounds, feeble mind, telekinesis, detect thoughts, and the telekinesis is at will, so that's not bad. And it can grade our heroism whoever it is working on once a day, and it can modify memory once a day, and it can tongues once a day if it needs to. So there you go. That is my CR15. My CR16 is something a bit more beefy and meaty, and is just something fun to throw at the players right out the gate. That is the Groot slang. I think we figured out last time that it was from South Africa or maybe Eastern Africa. I'm not sure, but it was from Africa. Its enormous beast is combined features of an elephant and a serpent. Its tremendous maw sports 6 frightening tusks. So this thing is a chaotic, evil, gargantuan magical beast. This guy's not going to be sneaking around. He has 10 in stealth, but that doesn't mean jack at this level. So, I don't know. You could probably reallocate those to intimidate for all that matters. This thing is, again, smart. It's not dumb. It's got a 15 intelligence. It's as smart as a Neothid, which is impressive. It's got the highest CMD that I have seen on any creature thus far. That's a 53. 55 versus trip. You're not touching this dude grappling or moving, or this guy is not going anywhere he doesn't want to be. And you're not grabbing him or anything like that. Mechanically, that's what he's there for. He's there to bite and stomp and tail slap. He's very much a dragon in that sense. However, he has DR10. DR10 over magic at this level is nothing. The SR27 isn't bad. And he has a reach of 20 feet, which is going to come into play because he does he doesn't have combat reflexes, but he does have mobility, multi-attack, and spring attack, which is going to be nice to use in his critical. He has bleeding critical as well as awesome blow. So he can push you away, make you have to 5 foot again just to try and get up on him, or more, depending on how much he exceeds things. And it can be really, really fun to use him, just toss the party around. The most interesting thing that I find for this magical beast is that he has aquatic illusion. That's not I-L-L, that is E-L. Because he eludes people by diving into water. As a standard action, a Groot slang that is fully immersed in water can teleport to another body of water without error. This ability functions like Tree Stride, but the Groot slang can exit from any body of water within 1 mile, so long as both the entry and exit are wide enough for the creature to enter. He got Impaling Bite, it's got Thunderous Stomp. All of that stuff is fun and nice and interesting. I like it. How I would use it in an encounter is I would have it to where this thing is something the party has heard about. Okay, they're getting stronger, and maybe when they were really low level, they saw some evidence of its passing. Maybe when they were a bit higher up, they kind of saw a bit more of what was going on, or maybe caught a glimpse of it. And now they're in this jungle, and they're having to run around. It's hot, it's muggy, it's nasty. The paladin's having a hard time just trying to wear the armor and do all that stuff, or anybody that's wearing that heavy armor is just panting there and sweating, having to do endurance walks to try and get through the jungle. So you have all of that happening, and they decide to, take a dip, try to cool off, and maybe that second time they saw it, it was a creature looking up at them from another lake, and whoever saw it saw a malevolent intelligence within the eyes, but the creature didn't go after them. It faded away as if it was just part of the imagination within the lake. And now they see it again. They're swimming around trying to cool off, and then they get back up, and they find out they have to go down there or something like that. You get the party to water somehow, and it's all fine. There's no Groot slang there when they have to go down and dive. So they go down, they dive to try and get what they need. It's not too deep of water. It's fine. This thing's only gargantuan. That's not very big for a lake, or a pond even. But it's not until then that the Groot slang starts to come into existence, and they see it swimming towards them as if from far away. And it gets closer and closer. First it looks small, then large, then huge, and then it finally gets gargantuan as it comes out and splashes out of the water. And this thing can jump out of the water because it has an acrobatics plus 19 when jumping. It can just pounce right out of the water, basically, and because it has spring attack, and it just crushes down with a thunderous stomp, and the battle begins. And the more you can foreshadow it, the better, because this makes a great end guardian for certain levels of CR. If you know you're not going to 20, or if you know you're not going above 15, he would be a good one to use, in my opinion, in that sense. So those are mine.
Yeah, I can definitely dig both of those, and it also speaks to the fact that people, this might be as far as a given campaign goes, my time as a content creator on YouTube, if it's taught me one thing, it's taught me that most campaigns don't go past 14th, 15th level. I personally think you're missing out if you don't get there. Now you can end a story at 6th level and be satisfied. No argument for me, but I think you're missing out a lot on just seeing what the character can do with those last like 5 or 6 levels. That said, all of these guys definitely, certainly make a very wonderful end-game boss, even though some of them might not be like brainy enough, I guess, to be bosses. But speaking of bosses, that is next week over at the Inn of Planar Crossroads, where we're going 17, 18. Now we're going to do a 3-for-1. It's going to be just like CR 3 and 4, talking for like 3 hours. This honorable mention's good.
No.
I will probably have several honorable CR 20 plus. Just throwing that out there now.
Yeah, we'll probably what we'll do is give everybody the pick of 2, and then we will do a quick honorable mentions at the end if we have time. That sounds fair to me.
Fair enough. Well, that brings us to the end of the CR 15, the end of CR 16. That brings us to, we have a month, and we can cross this off our list, and it's gonna feel like I'm not like I am done with it. It's not like that, but it's gonna feel good to have this like accomplished, to have gotten through something, and to have gotten through something with my friends and stuff. So much the better. Again, guys, we will be next. When do these go live on your channel, Adam? Is there like a certain day?
Usually I try to get them up Thursday or Friday, so that they can be up for people to listen to.
So not this Thursday or Friday, but the next Thursday or Friday, we'll be at the Inn of Planar Crossroads, talking about 17, 18, and 19. Unless anybody else has anything to add real quick, as always, be sure to like and subscribe to both of us for more videos. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.